Hey, I'm Meg. Welcome to our channel. Now relax and let me tell you a story. I am not taking your son. He'll get my whole car dirty. Out! Lucy snarled, shoving Clara, who was holding her son in her arms. She nearly threw them out of the car, straight onto the shoulder of the highway. Nate, Clara's husband, silently turned his face away. He said nothing. Later that same night, when they returned home, they were paralyzed with horror at what they found. Clara woke up at 6:30 a.m. to the sound of a dripping faucet in the kitchen. Outside her two-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood in Austin, Texas, the day was just breaking. She stretched and reached out to the empty side of the bed. Nate had already left for work. He was a mechanic at a local manufacturing plant and was on the morning shift that day. From the next room, she heard movement and a soft murmur. Leo, her 6-year-old son, was already awake, building something with his Lego set. The boy had inherited his mother's knack for STEM and spent hours perfectly assembling spaceships and robots. Clara got up, put on her robe, and went to the kitchen. The apartment had been left to her by her grandmother Rose 3 years ago. The woman, who had worked her entire life as a math teacher at a technical college, had managed to buy the well-located property. When Clara inherited the apartment, she felt that she and Leo finally had a real home. She put the kettle on the stove and opened the fridge. On a shelf, a note from Nate read, "Honey, I grabbed some bacon for breakfast. I'll be home late today. Mom asked for help moving some furniture. Kisses, N." Clara frowned. Lucy, her mother-in-law, was demanding more and more of her son's attention. It was always a cabinet that needed to be moved, a leaky faucet, or a trip to her storage unit to pick up some old boxes. Nate never said no to his mother, even when he and Clara already had plans. "Mommy, where's Daddy Nate?" Leo asked, appearing in the kitchen with messy hair and a robot in his hands. "He's at work, my little sunshine. Want an omelet?" "Yes. Can I show the robot how you cook?" Clara smiled. Leo loved creating stories with his robots and talking to them as if they were real friends. After her divorce from Leo's biological father, the boy took a long time to get used to Nate, but he had been patient and slowly became almost a true father to the boy. While her son ate breakfast, Clara got ready for work. She taught English at a private school, which provided a good salary, especially compared to the public school system. The principal valued her professionalism and her ability to handle difficult teenagers. The day at school passed as usual: 6 classes, grading papers, and a parent-teacher conference that lasted until 7 p.m. When she finally got home, the lights were on, but the apartment was silent. "Leo, I'm home," she called out, taking off her shoes in the hallway. "Mommy, we're in here." Her son's voice came from the living room. Clara walked in and saw Leo sitting on the rug in front of the TV. Next to him was Lucy, wearing her usual brown pantsuit, her hair tied in an old-fashioned bun she'd maintained for over 15 years. "Good evening, Clara," the older woman said coldly, without taking her eyes off the television. "Good evening. Where's Nate?" "He's taking a shower. We spent the whole day moving furniture. My son is exhausted." Clara felt a sting of irritation at hearing "my son," but she remained silent. Lucy spoke of Nate as if he were still 12 years old. "Mom, Grandma said her cell phone broke," Leo commented, not looking away from the cartoon. "That's right," his grandmother sighed. "It just stopped working completely, won't even turn on. And I need my phone for work. The register is all digital now. Everything is on an app." Clara just nodded and went to the kitchen to heat up dinner. A few minutes later, Nate appeared, his hair still wet, wearing a t-shirt and sweatpants. "Hey, honey," he kissed Clara on the cheek. "How was school?" "Fine, just tired. And you?" "All good. Mom wanted to move the big cabinet, so we spent the afternoon on that." The 3 of them had dinner together. Lucy refused the food, saying she was on a diet. Afterward, she said goodbye and went home, and Nate helped Leo build a new airplane with his Legos. The next day, Clara decided to wash Nate's jacket, which was dirty from moving the furniture. While checking the pockets before putting it in the machine, she found a crumpled piece of paper. She unfolded it and saw it was a receipt from an electronics store for a top-of-the-line smartphone, costing almost $1,500. The date was from the previous day. Clara's heart went cold. $1,500 was all the money they had saved for Leo's summer vacation. They had been planning to go to the coast. The boy had been dreaming of this trip for months. That night, after Leo went to sleep, Clara showed Nate the receipt. "What is this?" Nate blushed and looked away. "I was going to tell you. It's for Mom. She really needed a new phone for work. Her old one was completely broken. She couldn't even close out her register. For $1,500, Nate, we could have bought a decent phone for $400. She asked for this specific model, said the cheap ones break too quickly. This one will last her 5 years. That was Leo's vacation money. I know, honey, but Mom does so much for us. She watches Leo when we get home late. She cooks for us on the weekends. She deserves a nice gift." Clara looked at her husband and knew that arguing would be useless. Nate always found excuses for everything his mother did. And although Lucy did help with Leo from time to time, she always did it with an air of someone doing them a massive favor. "We'll go to the coast next year," he said. "I promise. I'll work overtime." Clara just shook her head. A week later, Clara met her friend Naomi at a coffee shop near the school. The two had known each other since college, and Naomi was one of the few people Clara truly trusted. "You look troubled," Naomi commented, stirring sugar into her coffee. "Did something happen?" Clara told her about the phone, the vacation money, and how her mother-in-law was becoming increasingly present and dominant in their family's life. Naomi listened attentively and then frowned. "Hey, do you know what your mother-in-law has been saying around town?" "What do you mean?" "My neighbor works at the same grocery store as she does. She said Lucy is always talking trash about you." Clara's eyes widened. "Saying what?" "That you got pregnant by another man just for the child support and then trapped Nate because of the apartment. That he only married you for your property and now you're trying to push her aside, even after everything she does for you." Clara's face turned red with anger and indignation. "But Leo is Nate's son." "I know, but she's spreading rumors that he's not his and that you're a gold digger. She says you don't give her a dime and that you want to alienate her son from his family." Clara fell silent, clutching her cup. It wasn't just contempt. Lucy was actively slandering her to anyone who would listen, and she had been doing it for a long time, with clear method and intention. "Have you tried telling Nate about this?" Naomi asked. "I've tried to hint at it, but he never listens. He says his mom only says those things when she's worried about him, that it's just old people talk." That night at home, Clara tried to talk to her husband one more time. "Nate, your mother is going around telling people that Leo isn't your son. And while it's true he's not biologically yours, you always said you loved him like a son, right?" "Of course I do," Nate retorted. "Then why can't you understand that she's poisoning people against me?" "Oh, Clara, that's enough," he said, raising his voice. "You're always being dramatic. My mom is old, she's lonely, and she only has me. Do you want me to abandon her?" The conversation went nowhere. Nate went out to smoke on the balcony, and Clara went to bed with her chest tight with loneliness. The following weeks were marked by tension. Nate started spending more time at his mother's house, and when he came back, he was quiet and irritable. Clara threw herself into her work and caring for Leo, trying to maintain her sanity. One Saturday morning, Nate announced he was going to his mom's house again. "Again?" Clara couldn't help but comment. "We were supposed to take Leo to the park today." "It's something important. Mom wants to look at a car." "What car?" "She's decided to buy one. She's tired of taking the bus." Clara felt a tightness in her chest. "With what money?" "She's going to finance it. I'm going to help with the down payment." "Help with what, Nate? With what money?" He hesitated. "I have some savings set aside." "The only savings we had went to the phone. You don't have anything else? And our budget is already tight." "We'll figure it out. I'll work overtime." On Monday, Clara discovered the truth by chance. Leo was sick, and she went to the local urgent care clinic to get a doctor's note. In line, behind a woman talking loudly on the phone, she overheard a conversation. "Can you believe it? The neighbor bought a car and even made her son co-sign the loan? She said if she doesn't pay, he has to." Clara's heart skipped a beat. Nate had co-signed for his mother without even consulting her. That night, she confronted him. "Nate, did you co-sign for your mother's car?" He tried to deflect, but eventually confessed. "I did. What's the problem? My mom is careful. She'll make the payments on time." "And if she doesn't? Do you have any idea what that responsibility means?" "Oh, Clara, you exaggerate everything. My mom has always been responsible with her bills." "This is serious. You should have talked to me first." "Here you go again," Nate exploded. "When my dad left, my mom held everything together on her own. She deserves some help. And if it's not from us, who will it be from?" Clara felt trapped. Nate was making unilateral decisions and presenting them as final. And Lucy, once again, was getting what she wanted, without any consideration for their family's budget. A week later, a red car appeared in the building's parking lot. Lucy had bought a 5-year-old used vehicle in good condition, financed for $18,000, with monthly payments of $500. "What a nice car," Clara commented when her mother-in-law came by to show off her purchase. "Of course it is," the older woman replied with pride. "I've spent my whole life dreaming of this. Now I don't have to squeeze onto the bus with just anyone." Leo looked at the car with admiration, but when he asked to sit in the driver's seat, his grandmother was firm. "Kids don't get in the car. You'll end up making a mess or breaking something." That same night, Clara redid all the calculations for their family budget. The loan payments, insurance, gas, maintenance, practically half of Nate's salary would go towards his mother's car. The plans to renovate the apartment or take that trip were once again postponed indefinitely. A month later, Leo started having health problems. First, he complained of a stomachache after breakfast. Clara thought he was just trying to get out of school and didn't pay much attention. Later that afternoon, his fever spiked and the pain intensified. During the night, the boy barely slept. He writhed in bed, moaned softly, and complained constantly. In the morning, Clara called their family doctor, an older woman with vast experience. She examined Leo carefully, palpated his abdomen, took his temperature, listened to his heartbeat, and then removed the stethoscope from her neck and said firmly, "It looks like acute appendicitis. He needs to go to the hospital immediately." "Do you have a car?" she asked. "No," Clara replied, worried. "Then call 911 or have someone drive you. The regional children's hospital is the best choice, and you can't delay." The doctor left. Clara returned to her son's side. He was pale, his eyes half closed, his breathing shallow. "Mommy, it hurts," he whispered. "Hang in there, my love. We're going to the doctor now, and you'll feel better." She called her husband's work, but the supervisor informed her that Nate was on his shift and wouldn't be out until night. An ambulance could take hours. The hospital was 20 miles away. Taking Leo on the bus was too risky. There was only one alternative, Lucy and her new car. Clara took a deep breath, mentally preparing for the difficult conversation, and made the call. "Hi, Lucy. It's Clara. Something serious has happened with Leo." She quickly explained the situation. On the other end of the line, there was a long silence. "And what do you want from me?" her mother-in-law asked coldly. "For you to take us to the hospital. The doctor says it's urgent." Another pause. "Fine," she answered reluctantly. "I'll be there in half an hour, but I want the car clean. I don't want the boy getting anything dirty." Clara felt a lump in her throat but swallowed it down. The most important thing was to get Leo to the hospital. She quickly packed a bag with documents and a change of clothes and dressed the boy, who could barely stand. Exactly 30 minutes later, the red car pulled up to the gate. Lucy got out with a look of displeasure. "Where's the sick one?" Clara came out with Leo in her arms. Her mother-in-law looked at him suspiciously. "He doesn't look that sick. I bet he stuffed himself with ice cream yesterday." The doctor said it could be appendicitis. "These doctors today exaggerate. They send you to the hospital for anything," she muttered, but allowed them to get in the car. Clara settled her son in the back seat and sat next to him. "Nobody touch anything, you hear?" Lucy said, looking in the rearview mirror. "The car is new. The seats are leather." Clara just nodded, hugging Leo, who was burning with fever and breathing with difficulty. She just wanted to get to the hospital as quickly as possible, but the car moved slowly, stopping at every light, yielding to pedestrians even when they weren't in a crosswalk. And Lucy constantly glanced at Leo in the rearview mirror. "Don't breathe on the windows," she warned. "I just had them cleaned." Clara clenched her teeth. Every minute wasted could cost her son's health, and her mother-in-law was only thinking about the cleanliness of her car. "Could you please go a little faster?" "I am not a reckless driver. This car is expensive. I drive carefully." Leo moaned, clinging tighter to his mother. His face was pale with dark circles under his eyes. Once they were out of the city, they got on the highway toward the hospital. Clara looked at the signs. Still 8 miles to go. Lucy was driving no more than 40 miles per hour, even though the speed limit was 60. Suddenly, she slowed down and turned onto a dirt road. "What are you doing?" Clara asked, alarmed. "We're going to stop by Stella's house. She's a nurse and knows all about these things. We'll check with her before going to the hospital." "Lucy, the doctor said it's urgent. We have to go straight there." "These doctors only know how to operate. Stella has over 40 years of experience. She'll know if it's really serious." Clara couldn't believe what she was hearing. Instead of taking her grandson to an emergency room, her mother-in-law was stopping to consult a friend. "We're wasting time. A half-hour round trip and we'll leave knowing for sure what it is." The car bounced along the bumpy road. Leo felt nauseous and grew even paler. "I feel sick," he whispered. "Hang on, sweetie. We're almost there." 10 minutes later, they stopped in front of a 2-story house. Lucy got out and went to the door. "Wait here. I won't be long." Clara stayed in the car with Leo lying across her lap, struggling to breathe. His fever was visibly rising. Through the window, she saw Lucy talking at length with a large woman in a colorful scrub top. Stella. The two spoke, gestured, and pointed at the car. Half an hour passed. Clara was about to get out and demand they get back on the road when her mother-in-law returned. "Well?" Clara asked, hopeful. "She said it's probably just an upset stomach. Give him some medicine and go home." "What do you mean?" "The doctor suspects appendicitis." "Stella said with appendicitis, the fever goes over 104. What's his?" 101.3. "Then it's not appendicitis." Lucy started the car and turned back toward the city, not the hospital. "Where are you going?" "Home. There's no reason to go to the hospital." "Stop the car!" Clara nearly screamed. "Get back on the highway!" "Don't shout in my car. You'll distract me. If anything is wrong with the boy, I'll give him some chamomile tea, and that'll be that." Clara saw that arguing was pointless. Lucy was not going to take them to the hospital. She grabbed her cell phone and tried to call Nate. No signal. At the factory, phones were blocked, so she called 911. 911, what's your emergency?" "I need an ambulance urgently. My son is suspected of having appendicitis." "What's your location?" Clara gave the address they were heading to. The dispatcher confirmed. "An ambulance is on its way. ETA is 40 minutes. Lucy, who had overheard the conversation, scowled. "Why did you call an ambulance? I told you it was just an upset stomach." "Because you refused to take a sick boy to the hospital." "I'm not refusing. I just want to avoid unnecessary procedures. These doctors are only in it for the money." 20 minutes later, they arrived at the apartment building. Leo could barely walk. Clara supported him with difficulty. "Thanks for the ride," her mother-in-law said in a dry tone. Next time get an Uber and stop bothering other people with your nonsense." Lucy drove away. Clara placed her son on the sofa. He was extremely weak and in intense pain. The ambulance arrived an hour later. The paramedic, a young and visibly exhausted man, examined Leo quickly. "Why did you wait so long?" he asked sternly. "The boy is showing all the signs of acute appendicitis. He should have been brought in immediately. We tried, Clara began, but the paramedic cut her off. Quick, let's get to the surgical center. Leo was carried on a stretcher to the ambulance. During the ride, Clara held his hand. The paramedic administered an IV with painkillers. At the hospital, a nurse led them to the office of Dr. Greco, a surgeon in his 50s with a serious gaze. He examined the boy and ordered surgery immediately. It's acute appendicitis. A few more hours and it would have become a systemic infection. Leo was taken to the operating room. Clara waited in the hallway. 2 hours passed. She paced back and forth, unable to calm down. Finally, the doctor appeared. The surgery was a success. The appendix was removed without complications. He's going to be fine. Clara almost cried with relief. Can I see him? He's still under anesthesia. He'll wake up in a few hours. He'll be in observation tonight and move to a regular room tomorrow. She nodded. She sat in the hospital cafeteria with a cup of hot tea in her hands, still trembling. The situation had nearly ended in tragedy, all because of Lucy's absurd stubbornness. That night, Nate showed up at the hospital. He was pale, his face tense. "How's Leo?" he asked, hugging Clara. "The surgery went well. The doctors say he can go home in a week." "Thank God. My mom said you stopped by Stella's house and she said it was nothing serious." Clara looked at her husband, perplexed. "Nate, your mother almost caused a tragedy. She refused to take us to the hospital, chose to visit a friend instead, and wasted precious time. The doctor said we were just hours away from a massive infection. She was just trying to help. She didn't want the boy to go through surgery for no reason." "Are you hearing what you're saying? Your son's health was at risk and you're still defending your mother?" Nate fell silent, then said without conviction, "She was just worried. Older people sometimes make the wrong decisions." Clara understood with an ache in her chest that even now, even with his son's life at risk, he would never be able to recognize his mother's faults. The next day, Leo woke up. He was still weak, but the doctor said his recovery was going well. Clara never left his side, sleeping in an armchair next to his bed, holding his hand. In the afternoon, a nurse entered the room. "You have visitors." Nate walked in with Lucy, who was wearing her best clothes and carrying a bag of fruit. "Well, look at our little warrior," the older woman said cheerfully, as if nothing had happened. Leo looked at his grandmother and turned to face the wall. "Leo, don't be rude," Nate said softly. "Grandma brought you fruit." "I don't want fruit," the boy muttered. Lucy placed the bag on the bedside table and sat in a chair. "This is what happens when you feed children all this modern junk," she commented, looking at Clara. "Nowadays they only eat processed food, and then they get sick." Clara stared at her in silence. "Stella said that after surgery, he has to follow a strict diet," she continued. "She gave me a list of approved foods." "Thank you, but we'll be following the doctor's recommendations," Clara replied coolly. "These doctors today just shove medicine down your throat. Natural medicine is much more reliable. It's been used for centuries." Nate remained quiet, occasionally stroking his son's head, but Leo didn't react, still facing the wall, motionless. "We won't stay long," Nate finally said. "Leo, get well soon, okay? You'll be home before you know it." When they left, the boy turned to his mother. "Mommy, why didn't Grandma want to take me to the doctor?" Clara didn't know what to say. How do you explain to a 6-year-old that his grandmother was selfish and cruel? "Maybe she was scared, honey." "Was Daddy scared too?" "Yes, son. And were you scared?" "Me? I was scared the doctors wouldn't be able to help you." Leo was silent for a moment, then said quietly, "I want us to live just by ourselves, without Grandma Lucy, and without Daddy Nate." Clara's heart ached. Her son instinctively understood everything that was happening in the family. On the 3rd day, Leo was moved to a regular room. Clara stayed with him the whole time, sleeping on a cot. Nate came by after work but only stayed for a short while. Lucy didn't show up again. On Saturday night, while Leo was sleeping, Clara went out into the hallway for some air. Near a window, two women were talking. One of them caught her attention. She looked familiar. Looking closer, Clara recognized Stella, Lucy's friend, the one they went to instead of the hospital. "It's all arranged," Stella was saying into her phone. "Lucy has been planning this for a month. She said the boy's illness was the perfect excuse to show that Clara isn't fit to be a mother." Clara froze. "She wanted to prove that it was Clara's fault the boy almost died," Stella continued. "But it backfired. The daughter-in-law called an ambulance. Lucy was furious. The plan didn't work. It was too much." Clara walked silently back to the room and sat beside her son. It had all been premeditated. Lucy had deliberately delayed the trip to the hospital, taken them to Stella, and refused to help, all with the intent of discrediting her. She was willing to sacrifice her own grandson's health to destroy her daughter-in-law and her son's marriage. And then a cold thought crossed Clara's mind. Did Nate know? Was he in on it, a complicit party through his inaction? She looked at Leo, sleeping with a serene expression. He still had bandages on his stomach. The doctors had been clear. They got there just in time, but a few more hours could have been fatal. It was in that moment that Clara made a final, irrevocable decision. She and Leo would live alone. Without Nate, without Lucy. She had the apartment in her name. The money in her account was also hers. She had a stable job, a decent salary, and above all, the strength to protect her son. Nate could stay with his mother, pay her loans, listen to her complaints, and give in to her whims, but he would do it outside of their lives. Clara picked up her phone and sent a text to Naomi. "Naomi, I need your help. It's urgent." The reply came seconds later. "What happened?" "I'm getting a divorce. I want to get Nate out of the house. Tell me everything tomorrow." "What do you need?" "A good lawyer and a locksmith. I need to change the locks." "Done. Hang in there." Clara managed a small smile, put her phone away, and looked at her son. Leo was sleeping with a little smile on his face. Maybe he was dreaming of something beautiful, and now she had to make that dream a reality. Starting tomorrow, a new life would begin. Without betrayal, without humiliation, without risks to her son's health. She held Leo's hand tightly. He didn't wake up, but snuggled even closer to her. First, however, she had to survive the most terrifying day of her life. On the morning of his discharge, Clara was caught by surprise. She hadn't told anyone, but when she came down with Leo to the hospital reception, she found Nate and Lucy waiting at the door. "We decided to come pick you up," Nate said, hugging his wife and son. "How did you know we were being discharged today?" "I called the unit," Lucy answered. "I wanted to see my grandson." Leo was still weak from the surgery and walked with difficulty. The doctors had recommended complete rest for at least a week. "I brought the car," Lucy announced. "Let's get you home." "Thank you," Clara replied, helping her son into the back seat. The boy was pale, clearly exhausted. During the drive, Lucy drove cautiously. "How are you feeling, Leo?" she asked, looking in the rearview mirror. "I'm okay," the boy answered weakly. Suddenly, Leo put his hand on his stomach. "Mommy, I feel sick!" He grew even paler, clung to his mother, and before Clara could grab a bag, he threw up in the car. The fluid soiled the seat and part of the floor. Lucy slammed on the brakes, pulling over to the shoulder. "What is this?" she screamed, spinning around. "I told you he wasn't feeling well," Clara said, wiping her son's mouth with a tissue. "It's normal after surgery." "Normal?" her mother-in-law bellowed. "He's ruined my car!" She stormed out, yanked the back door open, and standing over the pale child yelled, "I am not taking this little monster any further. He'll get everything dirty. Out!" She grabbed Clara's arm and tried to pull her from the car. "Mom, stop," Nate said, but his voice was quiet, almost without energy. "I will not stop. These are leather seats. I didn't get a loan to have this brat ruin everything." Lucy pulled at Clara, who was trying to shield her son. "Nate!" Clara shouted, looking for support, but he was just sitting in the front seat, head down, staring out the window in silence. He didn't say a word. His mother managed to shove Clara and Leo out of the car, directly onto the shoulder of the highway. Leo could barely stand, leaning on his mother. "Mommy, I'm cold," the boy whispered. Clara took off her own jacket and wrapped it around him. The red car sped off, leaving the two of them alone on the side of the road. 10 minutes later, an ambulance on its way to another call stopped when it saw Clara with the frail child. "What happened?" the paramedic asked. "Didn't you just leave the hospital?" "He got sick in the car and they left us here." "They left a sick child on the highway?" The man couldn't believe it. "Get in. We'll take you back to the city." During the ride, Clara made her final decision. Nate would be removed from the apartment. No one would ever put Leo at risk again. The next day, as soon as she got home, Clara gathered her documents and called Anthony Garcia, a friend from her college days. They had majored in English together, but he had switched to law. Now he was a lawyer at one of the best firms in the city, specializing in family law. "Clara, what a surprise. How are you?" "Not so good, Tony. I need your help. I'm getting a divorce." "Seriously? I thought you and Nate were doing well." "Can we meet today?" "It's urgent." "Of course. Meet me at my office in 2 hours." Clara left Leo with her next-door neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, a retired woman who sometimes watched the boy. Leo was still weak and slept a lot, but the doctors said his recovery was on track. The office was downtown, in a charming old building. Tony welcomed her into a spacious room overlooking the square. "Tell me what happened," he said, offering her a coffee. Clara told him everything. The expensive phone, the car loan, the incident on the highway, and how Nate always sided with his mother, never with her. Tony listened in silence, taking notes. "I see. Let's take this step by step. The apartment is in your name?" "Yes, inherited from my grandmother 3 years ago." "Excellent. Then it's your private property. Nate only has the right to use it as a family member. After the divorce, he loses that right." "How quickly can I get him out of the house?" "With solid proof, very quickly. And we have it. Leaving a sick child on the side of the road is extremely serious." "And the car loan?" "I didn't sign anything." "Then the bank can't come after you. But we should check if he added you as a co-signer without your permission. That's identity fraud." "Can we do something about that?" "Yes. If we prove fraud, the bank is forced to review the contract. And without a co-signer, Nate might not even be able to keep paying." Clara felt something rising within her. Not anger, but a sense of justice. It was the right thing to do. "What do I need to do now?" "Gather documents, the medical report on Leo's condition, the deed to the apartment, the loan contract if you have it. Then, we file for divorce and Nate's eviction." "And how long will that take?" "If we have proof, between a month and 45 days. We can expedite it with a strong legal argument." Tony looked her in the eyes. "Clara, are you sure this is what you want?" "More than ever. After what happened with Leo, I never want him to be in danger again because of someone's neglect." "Then, let's get to work." Clara returned home feeling a relief she hadn't experienced in a long time. She was finally taking control of her own life. Leo had woken up and, with more of an appetite, asked for something light to eat. Clara prepared some soup, as the doctors had recommended. The boy was still frail, but the fact that he was hungry was a good sign. "Mommy, is Daddy Nate coming today?" "I don't know, honey. He's at work." "And Grandma Lucy? She's not coming anymore, right?" "No?" "Good. She's mean." Clara stroked her son's head. Children sense the truth even when no one tells them. That night, Nate arrived late. His face was grim. He looked tired. He barely greeted Clara, avoided eye contact, and sat down at the table. "How's Leo?" he finally asked. "Better. The doctor said his recovery is going well." Clara waited for him to say something. Anything, an apology, an explanation, but nothing. Silence reigned. "Nate, we need to talk." "About what?" "About what happened on the road." Nate looked up, visibly annoyed. My mom apologized. She said she got worked up over the car. She apologized to me? Well, she asked me to tell you. And you? What do you think about what she did? He stood up, took the plates from the table and started washing them. I think you're making a mountain out of a molehill. The car is new. My mom gets worried. Nate, she left Leo, sick, on the shoulder of a highway. She didn't leave him. She just took you out of the car. 10 miles from the city, with a child who just had surgery. What now? It's over? Leo's fine? Clara took a deep breath. She knew any dialogue was useless. Nate either didn't see or refused to see the gravity of what happened. I'm filing for divorce, she said firmly. Nate froze, plates in hand. What? You heard me. Because of yesterday? Because of everything. I don't want to live with someone who won't protect his own son. I do protect him. I'm just not going to fight with my mom over every little thing. A little thing, Nate? Your mother almost caused a tragedy. But she didn't. In the end, everything turned out fine. No, it didn't, because for me, this is just the beginning. Nate put the plates back in the sink and turned around. Are you serious? Very. And the apartment? The loans? I co-signed for my mom's car. That's your problem. The apartment is mine. You have no right to it. He turned pale. You mean you're going to kick me out? Exactly. And where am I supposed to live? With your mother. You practically live together anyway. Nate still tried to argue, promise, negotiate, but Clara's mind was made up. While he talked, she was already thinking about what she needed to organize the next day. The following morning, while Nate was at work, Clara gathered all the documents and went to Tony's office. He reviewed everything calmly. Excellent. The apartment is in your name. No contest. As for the loan, it's clear here that you are not a co-signer. So the bank can't charge me? Not at all. What's more, we can sue the bank for improperly including you. That will complicate things for Nate. How so? The bank will demand he find a new co-signer or pay off the loan immediately, and without collateral, the interest rate could jump by up to 50%. Clara felt determined. Let's move forward. She signed the divorce petition and the eviction request for Nate. Tony began to assemble the paperwork for the case. Now tell me something, he asked. Do you have any idea how your mother-in-law is paying for this car? A grocery store cashier's salary doesn't cover those payments. Clara thought for a moment. It's true, her salary is low. She must have some other source of income. Exactly. And if it's illegal, we can use that in a criminal case. I'll investigate. Naomi's neighbor works with her at the supermarket. I might be able to find out more. That evening, Clara called Naomi and explained the situation. I need your neighbor to find out how Lucy is really making her money. Leave it to me. I'll ask her and let you know. Later, Nate returned home, this time visibly agitated. So, you're really kicking me out? Yes. And you're going to take Leo away from me? You're going to stop me from seeing the boy? Leo is not your biological son, and you never legally adopted him. Then I'll adopt him now. It's too late. After the divorce, a judge won't approve it without my consent. Nate realized he had no cards left to play, no right to the apartment, no right to Leo. He went into the bedroom and slammed the door. The next day, Naomi called with important news. Clara, my neighbor found out something crazy. Tell me. Your mother-in-law has been stealing from the market for years. She takes food home without scanning it, skims money from the register. The manager knows but does nothing because they're childhood friends. Clara was shocked. Seriously? Yes. The neighbor told me everyone on her shift talks about it, but no one reports it for fear of retaliation. And how much does she take? Around $800 a month, not including the stolen products. It's a huge boost to her salary. Clara noted everything down. Now it made sense how Lucy could afford a financed car on such a small income. Can this be reported anonymously? Yes, The supermarket chain has a corporate whistleblower hotline. You just need the store number." Clara wrote down the number and was silent for a moment. She knew it might seem like revenge, but it wasn't. It was justice, and Lucy needed to be held accountable. Clara also contacted the bank and filed a formal complaint for being listed as a cosigner without her consent. The institution acted quickly. Within days, they notified Nate, demanding full payment of the debt or the presentation of a new cosigner. Nate panicked, calling Clara repeatedly, begging, "Please, just help. Just say you agree to be the cosigner. It's only on paper." "That's your problem, Nate. Figure it out." Lucy tried to get another loan to cover the debt, but the banks refused. Her cashier's salary wasn't enough to approve credit, but the worst was yet to come. Without Lucy knowing, Clara called the supermarket chain's whistleblower hotline. "Good morning. I'd like to report irregularities at store number 47. "Go ahead." "The employee, Lucy Mendez, a cashier, frequently steals products and takes money from the register. The manager, Celso, protects her." "Do you have proof?" "I'm a regular customer. I've seen her put products in her purse without scanning them, and her colleagues have told me about the money." "Thank you for the information. We will investigate. Your report will be anonymous." Clara hung up the phone with the feeling that she was doing the right thing. 2 weeks later, Naomi called, excited. "Friend, you won't believe what happened. Tell me." Corporate auditors raided the store. They inspected the registers, the inventory, the accounting, and they found everything. Everything what? Over $10,000 in missing products and irregularities at the registers. They fired the manager, Lucy, and 2 other employees. Are they going to press charges? It looks like it. They were talking about filing a police report and everything. Clara sighed, feeling a sense of relief and justice. Everyone was paying for what they had done. But the most unexpected event came a month later. One afternoon, the doorbell rang. Clara opened the door to find Nate and Lucy. They looked defeated, with dark circles under their eyes and disheveled clothes. "Can we come in?" Nate asked. "No," Clara answered firmly. "We need to talk." "About what?" "They fired my mom. They're accusing her of theft, but she would never do that." Clara looked at Lucy. The woman's head was bowed, her usual arrogance gone. "Then let her prove it in court," Clara replied. "But with me, this conversation is over." "Can I apologize to Leo?" the older woman ventured. "It's too late now." I didn't mean to. I got nervous because of the car, and now the bank has taken the car," Nate confirmed with a nod. "They're demanding the full payment, and we don't have the money." "What a shame." "Clara, you can help as a cosigner." "I am not a cosigner. The bank has already confirmed that, and even if I were, after what you did to Leo, this family is over." They lowered their heads in defeat. The next morning, Mrs. Peterson, the neighbor, filled in the details. "Can you believe they were evicted?" "What do you mean?" "The sheriffs came with a court order. They told them both to leave the apartment. It was all documented. Nate tried to resist, but he had no legal right to be there." "And where did they go?" "To a motel on the edge of town. They're living in a rented room now. Nate only has his factory salary, and it's tight." Clara just nodded. For the first time in a long time, she felt at peace. Leo was recovering quickly. He went back to playing with his Legos, now more cheerful, laughing frequently. Clara watched her son with affection and relief. Slowly, everything was falling into place. The absence of Nate and Lucy made their routine lighter. Clara now had more time, more tranquility, and even the household budget had improved without the pressure of the car debt. 3 months later, great news arrived. The most prestigious international school in the city, the Global Integration Academy, had an opening for an English teacher. Clara went through the selection process and was hired, double the salary, full benefits, and the chance to participate in professional development programs abroad. At dinner, she told her son the news. "Leo, Mommy got a new job. We're going to have an even better life." "Are we going to be rich?" Clara laughed. Not rich, honey, but very comfortable, yes. And Daddy Nate and Grandma Lucy, are they okay now too? No, honey, they're having a hard time, but they are responsible for their own choices. Everyone chooses their own path, right? Exactly. Leo nodded and went back to building a rocket with his blocks. Clara watched him in silence. She knew she was making the right decisions, that finally the environment around Leo was healthy, stable, and just. 6 months later, Clara took Leo to the clinic for a follow-up with the surgeon, just a routine exam to check the scar. While they were waiting in the hallway, Clara saw a familiar face. It was Nate, accompanied by Lucy, who was now visibly older and frail. She used a cane and was breathing with difficulty. Nate's hair was graying, his face gaunt. Leo saw them first. He hid behind his mother, lowering his head. "Mommy, it's them." "You don't have to be afraid. We're just going to walk past, okay?" But Nate saw them, stood up, and approached hesitantly. "Clara?" "Leo." Clara stopped. "Hi, Nate. How are you?" "We're fine. And you?" "My mom's health is fragile. High blood pressure, heart problems." "I'm sorry to hear that." Nate hesitated. Can I see Leo sometimes?" Clara knelt and looked at her son, who was holding her hand tightly. "Do you want to see Nate?" Leo shook his head firmly. "I don't want to." Clara turned back to Nate. "You hurt him." He swallowed hard. "But I was almost a father to him." "Fathers don't betray their children." Before he could say anything else, Lucy touched her son's arm. "Let's go, Nate. They're calling us." They entered the doctor's office, while Clara and Leo headed toward the surgeon's. "Mommy, do you feel sorry for them?" "No, honey. I'm not happy about what happened, but I don't feel sorry either. You reap what you sow." "I like our life now." "Me too, my little sunshine." The surgeon examined Leo carefully and smiled at the end. "The scar is perfect. Leo is strong and healthy. He can live a normal life. You can forget this surgery ever happened." Clara thanked him and left with her son. She felt light, a feeling she hadn't had in a long time. The worst was over. On the sidewalk, Leo walked beside her, excited. "Mommy, I'm creating a new robot." "Oh yeah? And what's his name going to be?" "Justice. He's going to protect the good people from the bad guys." Clara smiled. Her son was growing up with solid values, and that was the most important thing. Clara and Leo got on the bus to go home. The boy talked excitedly about the robot he was going to build when they arrived. Clara, meanwhile, looked out the window with a peaceful heart. Her son was healthy, the house was quiet, the bills were paid, the new job was promising. Everything was finally in its place. The apartment she inherited from her grandmother was small, but it was cozy and full of love. And now, free from Nate and Lucy, that space had once again become a true home. As soon as they walked in, Leo ran to his room. "Mommy, I'm going to build Justice. He's going to have strong arms and eyes that see the truth." Clara laughed at her son's creativity. More than ever, she knew she had done the right thing. Leo was growing up in a safe, honest, and loving environment, without manipulation or yelling, without fear, and without blackmail. That night, as they had dinner, Leo commented, "Mommy, today I saw that people who do bad things can be punished." Clara nodded. "Yes, son. Justice can be slow, but it always arrives." "Do you think Justice will work?" "He will, because he's going to be like you. Brave, and with a good heart." Leo smiled. After putting her son to bed, Clara stood on the balcony, looking at the city lights. She thought about everything she had been through in the last few months, the betrayals, the humiliations, the fear of losing her son, the loneliness. And then she thought about the present, how she was living with a lightness, how she had started to breathe again without tension in her shoulders. She had found the strength she needed, and now she was an example of courage for her own son. The next morning, Clara took Leo to school with his new lunchbox and a neatly pressed uniform. The boy was greeted with hugs from his classmates. Everyone was happy to have him back. She even had time to stop at the corner cafe before heading to the new school where she now taught. "Good morning, Professor Clara," the smiling barista greeted her. She replied with a wide smile. Because, yes, the days were good now. Months passed. Time was generous to Clara and Leo. The house now had color, life, and peace. In place of tension, there were smiles. In place of fear, freedom. And in place of guilt, sincere love. Leo grew up healthy, curious, and affectionate. At school, he was loved by his classmates and teachers. At home, he helped his mother, told stories, and created incredible inventions with his blocks and cardboard. Clara, for her part, thrived in her new job. She had already been invited to participate in an exchange program with a school in Spain. The plans for the future, once so clouded, were now clear and possible. One evening, while she was washing dishes, Leo approached her with a drawing in his hand. "Mommy, look what I made." It was him and Clara holding hands next to a giant robot. Above them, a blue sky with a smiling sun and birds. "Who's this?" Clara asked, pointing to the robot. "It's Justice. He lives with us now. He protects our house." Clara smiled, moved. "I think Justice has been living here for a while now, son." "Yeah, he showed up the day we were left all alone, just the two of us." She hugged him tightly. "And I will never, ever let anyone hurt you again. Never again." "I know, Mommy." That night, Clara slept with a peaceful heart. She dreamed of a simple but happy future. Leo playing in the yard of a sunny house, her reading in a hammock. No debts, no fear, no guilt. It was the kind of dream that, not long ago, had seemed impossible. Now it was just a matter of time, because in the end, she had won. And so had Justice. If you enjoyed this story, make sure you're subscribed and have your notifications on, because you won't want to miss the next tale of revenge and vindication from Velvet Vendetta.